It's Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here. We are in the San Gabriel Valley, joined today by Bill Ruh. He is a councilman in Montclair, and I want to boast a little bit. I think I'm kind of cool because I took the subway to come here.
Oh, really?
I did.
Good.
I went from the west side of Los Angeles. I took the Expo line. I got to downtown. I took the red line, and then I took the red line to the gold line and went all the way to Irwindale.
So you took the Irwindale stop.
I
Good.
did, and it makes me think about the extension of the gold line, the much discussed extension that could get us to Montclair.
We're looking forward in 2017 to seeing the gold line really become the reality to Montclair.
Well, right now, just to remind our viewers, last year we had an opening.
Right.
And that took us to Azusa Pacific University.
Correct.
In Azusa.
It's right. Azusa Pacific University / Citrus College stop, because it's on the border of both of them.
And that has been a very successful stop, terminus.
It's been wildly successful. We have noticed that the parking lot is full by 6:30 or so every weekday, because the huge number of people traveling east of that.
Right.
We're talking as far
from
as Rancho
Montclair
Cucamonga, Fontana, Montclair, Claremont, Laverne, wanting to take the gold line so they'll get to the parking lot.
Right.
It's full by 6:30 or so.
Wow.
They do find parking somewhere else, and they're working on other parking solutions, but it's been wildly successful and shows the need for mass transit.
So as a result of the November election, LA County passed Measure M.
Correct.
Which provides huge funding opportunities to extend the gold line, amongst other things. Now, Claremont is the last city in LA County.
Correct.
The first city in San Bernardino County right next door is Montclair.
Correct.
But when we hear about the gold line extension, it doesn't end in Claremont. It
ends in Montclair.
So how does that work? Because Measure M can't spend money in San Bernardino County.
Montclair was working with San Bernardino County, specifically Sandbag, the San Bernardino Associated Governments, to work on the necessary funding to get it from Claremont to Montclair.
And I want to be
it's jurisdictional county line.
But let's talk about it, because it's really interesting to me. I'm a transit geek. So the Claremont stop would be the terminus in LA County.
Correct.
But then 3,500 feet later, you're in Montclair.
Correct.
And there's that bona fide terminus of the extension. 3,500 feet doesn't seem like a lot.
It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is when you consider Montclair has the ability to park a larger volume of cars than does Claremont. It also may not be looking at it as the terminus for the gold line, but the beginning into San Bernardino County and eventually the Ontario airport.
And that's the golden ticket.
Right.
I mean, everyone talks about, let's get this gold line to Ontario airport. And
Absolutely.
when we consider, sir, that there is now local control over Ontario airport, I mean, there just seems to be a lot of momentum behind that. Okay, so is the fact that the gold line extension will sneak into San Bernardino County, is that kind of a way to back into continuing it all the way to Ontario?
Eventually, yes. And there's going to be the need for it.
Right.
Picture business people who may land in Ontario. They have a day of meetings in Pasadena.
Sure. I mean, it's
get
huge.
on the gold line
It's
for
huge.
$1.75, go to Pasadena, handle your meetings,
Right.
get back, and you can be back home.
But what does this look like, sir? Because we know that we have the money for the extension to Claremont / Montclair.
Right.
I don't think we have funding for Montclair to Ontario airport.
Eventually, we're going to start looking at that.
But who needs to look at it? Is it the
San
county?
Bernardino Associated Governments, which is part of the county, it's all the cities in the county, need to really start looking at that. And it's something they've talked about. It's something that I think everybody is very serious about.
But now, are you looking as a way to fund that further extension a self-help transportation tax?
It can be a number of things. It could be a self-help transportation tax. It might be looking at our federal partners. I don't know what the new administration is planning.
And I want to talk about that in a second. Let's focus for a bit on self-help, because I think San Bernardino does have a transportation tax.
Yes, we do.
But Los Angeles passed another one.
Right.
But what's interesting, you may know this, in November there were 14 counties that had these self-help transportation taxes. Only 6 passed.
That's right.
LA was one of them, Merced, Monterey, Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, and Stanislaus. passed kind of a mix of red and blue counties, but even some very blue counties, they failed. San Francisco County failed.
Right.
Contra Costa failed. And so what do you think? I mean, do you think it's time for San Bernardino to look at a self-help tax?
I think they may have to. And if we do so, it's going to, and I certainly can't speak for Sandbag, but it's certainly making it a very, very clear priority to the voters and what you're going to do. That's what LA County did so well with Measure M. It was very clear. They did a very good job of explaining it and what it's going for.
Well, what was interesting about LA County, if I may say, is Measure R passes in 2008. That gets everything going. But then they bring Measure J to the voters in 2012, and it just failed by like 0.5 or something. They went back 4 years later, and it passed pretty handily, like about 70%. Look, I know you're not Sandbag, but let's face it, you are a leader in the county.
Right.
And so do you want to be a voice to push for self-help transportation
I would
tax?
personally want to be a voice to push for self-help because I think it's the only way we're going to get mass transit. I don't know what the new administration plans, as I said earlier.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that.
They've set a priority for infrastructure, and no matter what the priority is, they're going to expect the counties and the cities to be able to fund some of it.
Let's talk
That's
about
just been an expectation for the last 30, 40 years
Let's
in
talk
transportation.
about the Trump administration, because he said a lot of things during the campaign, but the one thing he kept repeating is he wanted to spend bigly or big league on,
if that's a word.
If that's a word. I hear it is actually.
Okay.
On infrastructure as a way to bring jobs back. And we'll see if he's serious about it. But boy, I mean, we have some roads and bridges that need repairs, and we have a gold line that could be extended.
Exactly.
And so, but you did bring up that notion of match.
Right.
You know, if you have your self-help tax, you can go to the Trump administration and say, look, we have a tax, let's match.
Let's match some of this money. I mean, our city has had to do that when we did an overpass a few years ago. We had to come up with some of the money. It's something that for about the last 30, 40 years, administration has asked for some type of a match, and it makes sense. If you don't have some type of, skin in the game,
of course,
it's not going to be taken as seriously.
Let's presume that we see the momentum as being just nonstop, and we are going to have the Gold Line go to Ontario. I would presume that Montclair is going to start thinking about how do we create catalytic events, consequences around that Montclair station.
Absolutely. We're already doing that. We have some transit-oriented development that has proven to be immensely successful.
What does that mean?
Transit-oriented development, it's housing and some shopping oriented around your mass transit line, your train station, similar to what we had back in the 30s in the LA area. Well, I just got back from Washington, D.C., where you see the subway, the metro, you see housing nearby, you see shops. People
and
get
a Starbucks and a 7-Eleven.
And then they go up to their flat. And it's not for everybody, but certainly millennials are saying, this is what we want. I mean, increasingly, that's what they're pushing for.
And we need density at a certain level for these transportation projects to work. And if you literally can walk outside and jump on the Gold Line, I mean, that's going to make it a lot more successful.
Exactly. The density doesn't mean it has to be all over. You can do it along. Of course. We have areas carved out in the city for the higher density, so you don't in any way come in conflict with your lower density areas. The East Coast has done this very, very well in Long Island.
I'd like you to come back. We'll talk more about this if we can. He is Bill Ruh. He's a councilman in Montclair. My name is Brad Pomerance in the San Gabriel Valley. You're watching us on Local Edition.